It's not that corruption doesn't happen in other countries. What differentiates our own, and in fact puts it at a different scale, is that people do these things and get away with it. And not only do they get away with it, they will still come back to get more contracts. You know, there are people who are police contractors in this country. They have consistently gotten contracts, irrespective of whether they perform the job or not, but perhaps because they know their way and know who to settle. So we need a system, a situation where we'll actually probe. This is why when I read the Tribune report this morning that FG is probing, and I said, yes, I applaud that. That will be one track, but there are also several other tracks to deal with. But finally, I also want to, as much as we applaud what the initiative here, we should also be careful about policing a donation. The state should be able to fund state institutions to do their work. Because immediately you allow people other than, you know, state entities who are supposed to do this coming into it, it will lead to transactional policing. So what we are doing is a good catalyst, but a government that knows this sort needs to take it from here. Never again should we allow our state institutions to deteriorate so much that we need a footage to shock us into taking responsibility for what should have been our daily routine. We shouldn't allow that.
Does this give you the impression or clue that this is how it is in most of these institutions, even the NYSC? Once upon a time, you could have a very good boots until recently, before you step on your boots is all gone. So now we're talking about contractors you talked about. Now those who are perennial contractors to the police colleges, perennial contractors to some of these schools for our security outfits. You say we should also ask them some questions.
Precisely. We have gotten so used to this kind of shortcut measures, and which also has to go back to the budgeting. Because while we blame these agencies and these contractors, there's also a way our budgeting processes have led to corruption. Now, an agency will draw up a budget of what it needs to perform its work within a given year. Now, it goes to submit it. At the end of the day, it gets an envelope, which may be 10%, 20%, 30% of what the agency, you know, asks for, based on what they feel they require to do their work. So when you give me 10, 15% of what I need to do the work, what are you encouraging me to do? You encourage me to go and do whatever. I mean, we don't care how you do it, but this is what you have for the year. So we should return to bottom-up approach, where if the police budget is based on the needs of the smallest unit to the highest unit, and then appropriations are made along those lines, I think it will address this. Because what we are used to is a historical approach. Oh, we gave them 5 billion last year. Let's add 1 billion. Irrespective of the fact that within this year they recruited 50,000.
I think, Mr. Chukwuma, it brings to mind the oversight function of the National Assembly. We have to talk about the committees. Now, there is a House Chairman committee on police affairs as well as members. Now, when we talk about issues like this, budgeting and reforms for the police, shouldn't the people be asking them the question as to what they've done so far?
Again, the whole thing has been flawed by corruption. If a committee...
So that's the word we've been avoiding here,
precisely.
corruption.
If a committee is visiting an agency, it's oversight. Ahead of going, they have made demands of what they need, how much you need to bring, what you need to... And if you don't do it, it will cost you your budget. We have seen situations where annual budgets of some agencies are, you know, inflected because of some underhand dealing, and others caught because they didn't do deals. So all the oversight functions are compromised because of this very act of corruption going and it's spreading. And it also goes back to the election, because to get elected, they need a lot of money, not performance. Because they tell you in their constituencies, those whom they use to get elected will ask them for what's the budget for this, not how well you did in exercise. So they have to make as much as possible to be able to run and come back.
But wasn't it a matter of time? Because, I mean, the IGP had come up with this policy, and the way it comes across, he just really wants to ensure that the police is functional and operational. They come up with the police code of conduct, promoting the middle cadre, increasing remuneration. So wasn't it a matter of time before he actually gets down there?
Yeah, I must commend the current IG. Since January when he came in, we have seen quite notable improvement and also ideas that would drive the force forward. But at the base of all that, we return to the budget. How much does he have this year to do all of this? If not for the goodwill he enjoys across the country from agencies like yours that are willing to help. But if he has to fall back on the state, which he rightly needs to, what is there? What is available for him to do the work? Last year, 11 billion. How much of that was released? And how much can that go? I mean, let's say, for instance, the command in Lagos here that is made up of over 20,000 men and women. 9 billion will not do it. How much more, 774 local government areas in Nigeria where you have police formations. What are we talking about? The federal government claims to fund they don't fund up to 5% of what the police need.
So if states, now talking about state governments now, if they hadn't been to the rescue in some states, maybe provision of some of these vehicles, amenities, and even building police posts in the country, the nation would have been without the police.
Without the state, there is no Nigerian police force. That is actually, I mean, that name Nigeria is just, you should call the command here Lagos State Police Command, and like that across, because without the state, there's nothing they can do. And even beside the state, you also have private businesses, private companies that make one donations or the other that are not captured in the police budget. And these are the entities that the police behold to. Because the agency theory tells you the principle that supports you, you behold to the person. The federal government is actually not the principal funder of the police.
But who is to demonstrate that capacity? Because, I mean, you have the police pension funds. We've seen the way that is going. You have the police equipment fund. We saw the way all of those went. So where do they take it from? Because, I mean, if you increase the funding of the police, what's the guarantee? Because you know what the man can do by what he's done before. What's the assurance that it will be properly utilized?
Precisely. When we started, I didn't really want to have, because the issue of funding has been overflow. But it's not just funding for the sake of lumping amounts. It's a funding that begins with addressing the budgetary problems, the budgeting process. What is even the capacity within these agencies, the police and all that, to do appropriate budgeting? What is the capacity to do the budget? People are promoted by ranks and sent to some department to head the budget. They may have had some training when they were in university in accountancy, but over the past 10 to 20 years they've been in the force. What exposure have they had? So you have to begin with restructuring the budget departments of security agencies and making sure that you have professionals. In our report, we have talked about outsourcing non-core policing functions to professionals, so that the police can be focused on policing work. Get expertise out there. There are so many qualified people who can help them do this work that are out of job and willing to do it. But because you have to first wear the uniform and rise through the ranks to a commissioner before you head budget, because the head of the budget in the police force is a commissioner. You are looking at 20 to 30 years of service before you can wear that rank.
Oh dear.
Meanwhile, this is something we need to get running today.
Okay.